And just to introduce Scott, Scott Hernandez served over 30 years with the Colorado State Patrol and became the FMCSA Regional Field Administrator for the West in 2018. And so we'll hear a lot more over the next couple of days. And I'd like to turn it over to you at this point to introduce our keynote speaker.
My honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Meera Joshi. She's serving as the acting administrator to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and the nominated administrator. Most recently, Meera Joshi served as general manager of the New York office of Sam Schwartz Transportation Consultants and visiting scholar at New York University's Rudin Center for Transportation Policy. Previously, Meera Joshi served as chief regulator of New York City's for hire vehicle industry. Under her leadership, New York City mandated the reporting of granular trip data from large app operators, which informed landmark data-driven safety reforms, enforceable pay standards for drivers, and meaningful access to service for the disabled. Meera Joshi was also an executive manager in city agencies charged with oversight of New York City Police Department and Department of Corrections. And I'm going to say one final thing. It's just been an honor to work with someone this short time that's so passionate about safety and always has those key questions to hold my feet to the fire on what we're doing to really improve traffic safety. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Scott. And it's been a pleasure working with you and all of the regional administrators since I started in January, which feels like a lifetime ago, but turns out it wasn't a lifetime ago. It was barely 6 months ago. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to speak. I appreciate the time that you're making for myself. I hope that my remarks are helpful, giving you some context of the agency's vision and our partnership goals. But I think, as you've already seen from Joe, our real contribution to this is going to be the sage, deep and expert advice and thoughts from our FMCSA safety experts. They've been critical to me learning the job, and I know they're critical to leading partnerships. I want to thank all of the partnership, all of the Safety Summit participants. It's your dedication, your cooperation, your sharing of best practices and lessons learned that makes us collectively much stronger and better at facing and eradicating what clearly is a global pandemic, roadway fatalities. Today's virtual and in-person event provides a historical opportunity to share many things. As Joe just explained, how COVID's changed our world and our work. And it's important not just because we need to learn how to pivot to carry out our safety mission in the face of unexpected change, but necessity in this case was the mother of invention. And many of us turn to tools that we wouldn't have otherwise. So understanding how their usefulness can outlast the pandemic is critical. Along with what happened in 2020 and what it taught us, today will also be a chance to talk about how innovation can extend our sight and our reach when it comes to safety enforcement, what existing tools we can leverage to make broader impacts, and how strategic research partnerships can guide our work. And in addition to this convening, I just want to highlight what it is that actually makes safety happen in America. It's your day-to-day work, the day-to-day work of enforcement on the roadways. That's what makes a real difference. It's your day-to-day inspections, training, outreach, education, and investigations. It's these millions of daily interactions that collectively save lives, and the need for action is more pressing than ever. Early numbers indicate that our 2020 fatalities are significantly trending up, with over 42,000 fatalities compared to 39,000 for the year before. That's 2020 versus 2019. And this is the year, 2020, that we were all supposed to stay at home. But there's continued reluctance to take mass transit. There's continued reluctance to get on trains and get on buses, things that we know are large, safe, and sustainable movers of people. There's increased and not likely to wane reliance on e-commerce. Ooh, that was a tongue twister, which means more demand for trucks on the road. And add to that, the lifting of stay at home, stay in state, and mask orders means we'll all be more mobile. And unfortunately, that means for many people that'll be more mobility in private cars. It will also mean more trucks on the road and hopefully more buses on the road too. And that combination without safety is lethal. So this doesn't bode well for reducing fatalities. Our task, which is always challenging, will be even more so in 2021. And in fact, as a country, we're not doing well on this front. The United States has one of the highest traffic fatality rates in the industrialized world. Undoing this distinction is one of the infrastructure goals of the American Jobs Plan, which includes a $20 billion investment in road safety. And this may be the first time that an infrastructure plan has specifically called out safety as foundational to our nation's health. That's $20 billion to improve road safety for all users. That's to increase safety programs that already exist, and that's to fund new ones, Safe Streets for All programs, Local Vision Zero programs. For the Biden-Harris administration and for US DOT, infrastructure is not just building back or building more, it's building back better and safer. The next generation is relying on us to protect them from one of our nation's leading causes of death. For the world of large trucks and buses, the work is clear. It's driving down the numbers that have been steadily rising for the last several years. That's 5,244 fatalities involving large trucks or buses in 2019. 73% of those involved a truck that was over 26,000 pounds. That's 554 pedestrians killed in 2019 as in relation to a crash involving a large truck or bus. That's 88 bicyclists. That's 1/3 of every work zone fatality because it involved a large truck. To do this, we have to scrutinize what's worked in the past and what has not. We have to make sure that we're critically pursuing safety goals and pushing the envelope on creative ways to get there. Vehicles and time are not on our side. A few thoughts. Data is the new oil. Collecting robust data sets and being able to automate integration of this information into state enforcement and to interstate data sharing is a powerful tool in identifying and getting risky operators off the road before there is a crash. So I urge everyone to utilize this asset. Also, think about new partnerships and new alliances. We all need friends in this fight. What entities can amplify your safety message? How can you more directly speak to drivers about frontline safety conduct such as seatbelts and distracted driving? And what research or community-based partners can accelerate your work, providing the factual foundation and analysis to understand effectiveness? In closing, I just want to acknowledge that 2020 was an unprecedented year. It forced us to find solutions to combat a pandemic. Roadway fatalities are also a pandemic, one of the nation's leading causes of death, but there is no vaccine. It's your evolving work that is the cure, not resting when there's work still to be done. Your enforcement, your thinking, your dedication, your motivation, your research, your analysis, and your commitment to the cause. Yes, we provide the funding, but you turn it into lives saved. So thank you, and together we will make our nation a safer one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Administrator. And I understand that you are available for questions.
Yes, and I feel fortunate that there's so many FMC experts also on the line that I can call if I need a lifeline.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions for the Deputy Administrator in the room? Holly Scott.
Hello, Deputy Administrator. What data do you not currently have that you think would be useful to help reduce crashes, and how can the states help?
That's a great question. And in part, I think it's not so much data that is not being collected, it's the comprehensiveness of it. So, you know, one area that I think would be helpful is there is a lot of data that's collected through electronic logging devices, and that potentially, and I know we're going to be using it in our large truck crash causal study, but understanding how that intersects with fatigue driving and crashes, I think would be extremely helpful. And I know from the few roadside inspections that I've had the privilege of observing, the amount of sort of coordination between databases and transferring some of that data is time consuming both for the inspectors and for the drivers. And integrating things like the positives in our drug and alcohol clearinghouse to ensure that drivers are identified through those inspections, I think would be, you know, it will be required in the future, but absolutely a positive tool for enforcement on the ground. So in part, it is data around what's happening on trips and data around what's happening around crashes, but much of that data is collected today. It's just that we don't have, I think, the right comprehensive access to it that makes it a workable tool for people that are in the field. And that's the linkage I would love to see going forward.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions for the Deputy Administrator? Looks like we might have a quiet group here today. It's still morning.
We need for transportation.
It is a little unusual. I think we need to get them some more coffee. Do we have any questions online? Feel free to raise your hand. We can call on you if you have any questions, or you can also type it in the chat box.
And if questions occur during the day, please feel free to send them our way. We're more than happy to answer over email as well.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks again for your time. And of course, you're welcome to continue to stay on as long as your schedule allows.
Thank you very much. And thank you for hosting this important event.
Great, thank you.